Okay, so yeah, we're going to return tonight to some of the more tougher puzzle-like positions. So we're going to go over this game that was played between Peter Svidler and Magnus Carlsen from Norway Chess 2014. We're going to be going over defending really difficult positions. So sometimes in chess, you get a worse position. Unless you're really low rated, then you skip having worse positions and you go straight to lost. You just blunder all your pieces, and then it doesn't. You're never worse. You just go from equal to lost. But you know, it is sort of an art just how to defend when you're, you know, in really tricky positions. And so with that, we'll pan slightly to the right, and we'll take a look at this game here. So we'll go a few moves in so we can get to the position. But you'll notice in this position, black is much better. So Carlsen has black. He's playing Peter Svidler. The queen is really far away from defending anything. So you'll notice black has all these pieces. They can quickly come in to the attack. So some scary stuff might happen, and white might have to defend really carefully. White's last move was bishop to e3, which really invited the move f4, which is a temporary pawn sacrifice. And he decided to accept the challenge, which is fine, but okay, you probably didn't put your bishop on e3 to move it back, but moving the bishop also was a safer option. Okay, queen to h5. Okay, so the knight went back to f3. And now a very good decision by Carlsen. Typically, he's very good when he's attacking. He played here the move bishop to h3, trading the light squared bishops so that then, okay, all the light squares are going to be weak around the king. A very good idea. Okay, so he took, and a nice defensive move, king to h1. He's going to put his rook on g1. That could end up being a very nice defensive maneuver. Maybe he's going to get some counterplay along the g file. And now, again, another nice move. And with this move, not only does he just get another piece into the game, so now he can use all of his pieces, but he's thinking immediately of taking here, and if you take back with your bishop, your e-pawn is hanging. So queen b2 protects the pawn. And another idea behind rook e8 was this move e4, which really tears the board open. You know, so if you don't, you're going to take, and your pawn structure is going to be messed up, or I'm going to take, and your f-pawns will be doubled, and there'll be a lot of extra space near your king. He decided to jump into g5, which is only temporary. Oh, so close. We almost got that door shut. Because after the queen retreats, he took here, and then the next move was knight to g4. So the knight went back to f3. And okay, there's quite a lot of good moves here. Simplest, perhaps, is taking on c4. Now, the material is equal again, assuming I know how to count, and it looks like I do. It's 4 on 2 versus 4 on 2. Or 5. Okay, he gets his pawn back, though, after queen to b3, and rook takes e4. Okay, so now material is equal. And we'll go just a few moves further here. And after this move, here we will pause. And from this point on, I'll see if you guys can play like Peter Svidler. Obviously, this is a very tough position. You have to find a lot of only moves in a row. But here, Carlsen actually made a mistake. And this can happen because, okay, for example, all of these captures are really good. And so sometimes it's actually harder when you have 4 or 5 moves that win than when you just have one move that wins. Because when there's only one move that wins, you just play that move. But when there's so many options, you sometimes confuse yourself. And that, I mean, I've just seen that in so many games. Just seems to happen to people. So if you're getting, you know, attacked, it's better that they have 1,000 ways to attack you, because maybe they'll get confused. But for example, just a sample continuation. If we take and deliver this check and we bring our knight back out to h3, this is just better for black. I mean, black is winning in this position, so this should be fairly elementary for a world champion. You know, I mean, I can't imagine Carlsen losing this position. But he decided to get a little fancier, and he perhaps overlooked Svidler's defensive possibilities. So in this position, he actually took on f4. The idea is, if you take on f4, then, okay, all these pawns are hanging down here, so I can take on f2, and then I can take on e2. So the question is now, I mean, taking on f4 is a move that we must consider. So would you guys take on f4, or would you play some other move? And so here I do want you guys to take your time, because it will be pretty difficult to find some of these moves. And at home, you may want to pause your videos, because whenever you see stuff edited out, it means these guys got like 5 minutes to think about it. And at home, you can take as much time as you want. So the joke would really be on you guys when they take like 60 minutes analyzing this. That would show you, because then they'd know it better than you. And I try to just keep talking when there's positions on the board, because then Ben Simon shows it, and people at home get to see the position for a little bit longer. But okay, I'll give you guys a couple minutes here. And I will say one thing that's very important when you have these positions and you're defending is to constantly be on the lookout for black's threats. I mean, prophylactic thinking is just necessary. It's a must in positions like this. So if you ask yourself, if it were black's turn to move, I mean, what is the threat in this position?
Rook takes knight.
Rook takes knight. Yeah, removing the defender of h2, and then you're threatening checkmate. So this obviously we cannot allow. I mean, yeah, taking the knight, I just take back, and okay, I'm winning still.
Rook g2.
Rook g2, okay. And so your idea is if I take your knight, you're still protecting h2. Very interesting. So the suggestion is rook to g2. Again, with the idea that if you take the knight, okay, we have h2 protected. But I suppose here one of these knights could take, and the idea is if you take this, I'm just taking back with the other knight, and I feel pretty confident here as black. So this also it was a good try, but it doesn't quite work either. So we return here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, he did just take on f4. Well, that prevents the threat. But obviously it looks pretty dangerous. Now I can take on f2 with check, I can take on e2, all sorts of scary stuff. Okay, he took on f2. And no points for guessing what white played here. Yeah, it looks like a lot of hands went up. Yeah, they were ready. Yeah, this lecture's easy. King g2. What is it, rook e1 as white? If you get another turn, that's the most useful move you can make. Rook e1. All right, he took on e2. Okay, very, very scary stuff. And again, I would urge you to think about what black is threatening. If you're not paying attention to his threats, you won't be able to defend correctly. What is the most obvious threat that black has in this position? Yes, this is the most brutal. This is just mate. But yeah, there are other moves like this also mates. This probably mates. So I mean, but this is also definitely a threat because you can only go to f1 or h1, and in either case, I take your knight and then I mate you. So this must be taken into account. And I will just in this position just keep talking for you guys at home. I'll give you my thoughts on Peter Svidler. I think he's excellent. And he's probably the highest rated person that does like blitz banter on the internet. And you're on the internet, so you could just go find that. And he is very, very resourceful and an excellent defender. I think that's one of the things that he particularly excels at. And I mean, I say it semi-jokingly and not intended as an insult or anything, but as somebody that plays the Grunfeld defense a lot, you end up getting worse positions and you have to defend. So he's been an advocate of the Grunfeld. And you get a specific type of worse position. It's very special. It's the type where you also get complicated, sharp positions and a lot of chances to muddy the water. And even if you're down, you can confuse your opponents and make things sharp. He's very good at that. So if you watch a lot of his blitz games, even when he's behind to a lower rated player, he often makes a big comeback because he's so good at defending. I think in that area he's particularly resourceful. So, okay, we've had a little bit of time. Does anyone have any ideas? In the back? Okay, so suggestion from the back was knight to g5, which has the whole point here is that I guess you're defending f3. Okay, so I have some discoveries. I guess I'll play here. You're in check. And I think somebody murmured the right answer a moment ago. King f1. Okay, excellent. And okay, again, this is very complicated, but now it's Black's turn. He has to make a big decision. So, are you having a good sleep over there? Yeah, okay. Where's the bishop going? And here the move that Black played might surprise you. Why not just take the knight is the question. So he did not take the knight. Yeah, this is not mate. But we will analyze this variation.
Rook g2 or g3.
Rook g3. Yeah, this is the move that White has to play in this position. And now Black has two chances, and this wasn't the game, but it is worth analyzing. If you take the bishop, well, let's throw this check in first. I mean, you undefended your pawn, and then okay, now we can take the rook. And okay, we have such ideas, and now it's actually White that's playing for the win all of a sudden. So, but also complicated is if I just go here, I protect my pawn. Now this move is excellent. This is a challenge, and again, try to see what Black is threatening, and it's not obvious. So, I mean, congrats if you find the best move here for Black. Like if I passed, if I can play here. What is Black's threat?
He takes rook check. Yes. And then once he takes, the knight to d2 check. But bishop takes.
Yeah, bishop takes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm on.
Okay. So yeah, that is always. I mean, you got to calculate so many sacrifices and stuff. So before we can even begin to understand, though, what the saving move is here for White, we have to understand what Black's threat is, which is in itself a very difficult task. Okay, so we haven't, in this position, quite found Black's threat. If you need more time at home, now's the time to pause your video. The surprising threat that Black has in this position. Yeah, knight h3. All right, at the buzzer. Darian Turner at the buzzer. Excellent. And yeah, the threat is rook f2 mate. Notice how the knight is protecting g1. So, fantastic. So now we know the threat. And now we have to figure out how to stop it yet again. Yeah, right. Sometimes you can see their threat, and then you're like, I don't know how to stop it. But here you can stop it. Well, I'm trying. If you play here, I'm trying to, you know, checkmate you. I'm not trying to win material. I assume I can take your rook. But we got to ask our trusty friend over here. You know, it's only Fritz. So it wants to play that move. Rook takes e3. And then it wants you to play bishop takes and knight g4. Yeah, how am I so good? How do I find all the answers? Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to crush you though. If you play this way, you know, I'm just trying to crush you. I suppose. Which you guys got a preference?
Sure, let's do that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Take the knight with the king.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, this is.
That's bad.
I don't even need to take your bishop, maybe. That's the only thing to calculate is if I need to take your bishop or not. But I mean, yeah, something like this. I mean, I assume this is great. This has to be great for me. Okay, so we're almost there. We're almost there. So in this position, king f1. It's really stressing you out.
I'll have to watch this twice.
All right. Also, somebody say queen d7 whenever we. All right. So we'll return. We haven't quite found it yet. We need to attack, and also, I mean, going here also might be a possible move for black. So we need to control squares on a diagonal. So we need queen d7. And what was? And now, actually, with best play, this should be a draw. If you take my rook, which is the audience's biggest fear, I take your rook, and I mean, I can even part with this piece. And with best play, there's just a perpetual here.
Oh.
So yeah, if you found queen d7 before you had any hints, I mean, big congrats. It's a tough move to find. So, but stuff like that is in the position, and it's, you know, it's not beyond Carlsen's grasp to be able to calculate something like that. You know, you can see these sorts of things. So he did not take the knight in this position. If you take the knight with best play, it's a draw. He instead played a cunning move, knight to e4. Again, shocking the audience. No one can believe it. And okay, so some people see the point. The point is, if I take this rook, you have this check. That's the point. And I believe it was here, though, that he perhaps didn't see what the best defensive move was here. I think he underestimated or just didn't see what Svidler has in this position. Among our threats, where we can just take this, I mean, we're probably also, if you stop that somehow, we're probably also threatening to put one of our knights here and checkmate you. You know, we have so many threats. I mean, the obvious one is taking on f3 here. So we mustn't get checkmated above all. Yeah, so it's white to play. The last move was knight to e4.
Nine.
On G7.
Awesome, yeah.
Expose the king and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you take on g7, perfect. And this is, okay, white is playing, sometimes there's perpetuals. That's the sort of thing that you want to be looking for. And the point is, if you take the rook, then I can play queen d7, which was not played. In the game, he just sidestepped. So we'll come on to that. If you go here, well, the queen comes in. And you can trade the queens now, but for accuracy's sake, yeah, we'll check here. The point being that, okay, if you want a perpetual, I'm fine with that as white. And if you want to go back, now your king is slightly farther away. Accuracy. And in this position, you know, lots of stuff can be traded. And black is still a little bit better, even though his knight's on b1. But this no longer, you know, was the smash him up knockout blow that Magnus was looking forward to. this now is a very challenging technical task to win this position. So this would be a big mistake. So we can understand this tricky move that was played. King f8. Just keeping the same threats in the position. And again, we need to find the only move here for white. We know the threat. Queen takes f3. Knight g5. All right, people seem to like to go to this square. Is this not? Am I not mating you? I mean, I must be, but how? Okay, I got rid of your bishop, so I can just take it. Okay. So yeah, not quite. I'm sorry. So we'll go back here. After king f8. Rook f7. Well, I can just take, right? Okay, and I'm not checkmating you, but I'm winning some of this stuff. You can take my rook, I take your bishop.
You can take the, well, you can.
This doesn't quite work. Do you have an idea? Queen b4. A little check. John, what's the best move here for black? Help everybody out.
I'm just here for fun.
And say c5, because that's the obvious answer. Yeah, so I need to get out, and then this didn't quite work. I'm threatening your queen and taking on f3. Okay, so after king f8. And the surprising move that you can play now, it's a little bit different than in the other position. Taking the rook, which obviously allows the fork. And so, okay, that all happened. But this is a slightly different position than what we saw before. The difference is the rook is already on g7. So again, we're looking for the only move for white in this position. Rook b to g1, excellent. Yeah, fantastic. And now Carlsen actually made a mistake. The best move is it's just playing move like knight here, and okay, the knight reroutes to e4. The white king will try to live on g2. You know, and it should be equal. But here he played knight to c3. And what's funny is now Svidler could have actually started to play for the win. So I don't know if he saw this next move and thought he was better, or you know, maybe he saw it and he's like, I don't know, I mean, my king's on f2 and I got no pawns in front of it. And I mean, he might have thought that he was just worse. So he went for a line that virtually secures the draw. So you want to play here? The best move? Yeah, it is. Yeah. And after this, you can take here. If you go here, I'm actually quite safe on g2. So surprisingly, now it's the black king that is in a little bit of danger. The white king is actually quite safe, so white in this position could be thinking about playing for a win if you wanted to try to win, but obviously there's a lot of room to make mistakes in this position, so so instead he took on c7. And after here, it's white's turn to do a little trick. He played king e1, dropping his knight. Oh no. What's white's trick?
Bishop h6.
Bishop h6, yeah. So that's the little trick. Nice little trick. Sorry, so he took on c7. And after knight to c5, the game ended shortly. They repeated draw. So, I mean, Svidler in this game had to find so many only moves. It was so complicated, it's so difficult. But very resourceful guy. Yeah, he found all the right ways to, you know, fight for the draw in this position. It's not easy, and okay, I mean, saving a half point against Magnus Carlsen is not a small feat. It was very difficult. And I would like to show one more for amusement. This was hard and difficult and hopefully educational. But this one will be for amusement. Okay, let's see. All right, so in this position, it's black to move. And as you can see, we're under a little bit of pressure. You know, white is thinking about this sort of scenario. And so I'll give you guys a couple minutes here to think about what you would do as black. You are worse, and you are thinking about trying to force a draw. So I leave it to the class. Yeah, black is hoping to draw. I mean, white has a very powerful attack. He's going to play rook g6 with a lot of threats. Checkmate being, you know, among them.
Or the E1 queen.
Yeah, so this was, yeah, so at home, if you haven't solved it, you may want to pause now. You said pawn to E1 queening?
Oh, E1, yeah.
Oh. Okay, so this did happen and he took.
Rook recaptures.
Yeah, the rook captured. Okay, rook g6. I'm threatening mate, it's serious.
Queen to D5 check.
Okay, we have two different suggestions. One is better than the other. Yeah, this might get you checkmated.
I mean, E7 is what it meant.
Where did E7? You want to go here? Okay. It's kind of nice that now you're not going to check me here. So I guess I move. And then the game continues. But yeah, it was mentioned. This check. Okay, this was played in the game. All right. And maybe as we're getting closer here, we start to see what the little idea is. Arjun? Rook G1, excellent. This rook D3. Okay, not here. If here, then I can go here. I don't see your next check. I just assumed you'd get it right because you're Arjun. Okay, this check is much better because now we have some follow-up checks.
Rook takes H3.
Rook takes H3, yes. Are we starting to see the idea?
Perpetual check if you want.
We have perpetual check, where is it?
It might be better.
We got a couple of queen checks here, so let's be
go
careful.
Queen C6, C3.
Queen C3, you're gonna check me from really far away?
No, I mean F3. F3, I'm sorry.
Okay, queen F3, okay. Sure, seems reasonable enough. I will go here.
H1 check. F2.
I would take the pawn on the check.
You would do what now?
Take the pawn with check.
Yeah, this also.
Yeah, the
Um,
queen takes.
Oh, geez.
All right. See, I knew Arjun would be there to help me out. I just knew it. Okay, so this doesn't quite work,
It's
but we're very close.
Can we start with queen H1 check?
Yeah.
Queen to H1. Okay, I must go here. Now, do we see the idea?
Bring the knight in with check.
Which check?
The knight.
Well, I got two checks, right?
94.
Which one?
The one where the pawn doesn't take you.
The one where the pawn doesn't take you. Okay. He didn't want me to take his thing. Do I get to run out a little bit? Obviously, if I start running around and if I can end up back over here in this general area, maybe I can protect myself with my pieces. And so, not quite.
Doesn't get the check one?
Yeah, the other check. Yeah, you want to go where the pawn can take you. All right. Yeah, are we starting?
Is that open?
Well, we're starting to see the idea.
Queen takes. Oh, queen takes.
Oh,
Queen to.
stalemate. You got a desperado now.
Yeah. Yes, you'll notice this king doesn't have a lot of squares to go to, and none of his pawns can move. So what's the move here? Arjun? I think he went to a different square. But yeah, but queen g2 is the same. But I guess this was his preferred way to get stalemated.
That is crazy.
So going back just to look at the position one more time. Yeah, so it was this position. And if you noticed right away that the king doesn't have a lot of squares, and you can try to get rid of all your pieces, and okay, the knight has to go here so that a pawn takes, and keeps that pawn from moving. So, okay, that was an amusing little.
I've never played that real game.
And these players are both rated about 2200, so okay, I mean it's probably not a very famous or well-known game, but it's certainly pleasing to watch. Very, very aesthetically pleasing. I guess we have a little time. Should we go over somebody's game?
Yes.
Yes? All right. Yeah, Cam West approved. Okay. So we did get another viewer submission. I've been getting so many. So it's funny. This guy, his name is Kyle. He says, "Hey, Jonathan." And obviously he spelled my name wrong, which doesn't bug me. But what's funny is I just don't get it how people, they always misspell Jonathan and they always spell Schrantz right. Like, surely Schrantz is the hard part, but
That one's easy.
you know, people like to put an H in my name, and they, here it ends. Yeah, I know. And yeah, and I think when Schrantz, like, you have to actually like look at it and be like, oh, Schrantz, how do I type that right? And Jonathan, you just guess because there's so many ways. All right, which I don't care. I mean, but okay. I'm primarily a queen's pawn player, and I find I have a lot of trouble with the QGD and semi-Slav positions. I was wondering if you'd had a look at this game for me. And he was white in this position. Both of these players were rated about 1450-ish, and looks like. So it was a game in 15. This was played on chesscube.com. Chesscube. Yeah, it's an interesting site. It's kind of cool because you get like qubits, and so you can bet and wager on your games. So it's kind of cool in that respect. I was playing it at the beginning, but there wasn't a lot of strong players, so I just stopped going there. But I assume by now it's even better. But it's a pretty cool idea. All right, so we get, a queen's gambit declined, and my preferred move over to here is knight to c3, because sometimes the knight on g1 actually ends up going to e2, as seen in my lecture. But okay, obviously this is not a mistake, and they transpose now to a semi-Slav, and white played the most aggressive move, bishop to g5. And here there's a lot of really complicated ways that black can play. So you can take here, very complicated. You can play h6, very complicated. But his opponent decided to play knight b to d7. And in this position, black can enter the Cambridge Springs, but he played a move that I don't particularly like, but I see it quite a lot in amateur games. Bishop to e7.
You don't like that?
I don't like it. I mean, it doesn't really fit with the plan. I think you should just take the pawn, play aggressive.
Once the knight goes to d7, you're wasting your time with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Moran. At some point, I kind of want to do this sort of thing to get this guy out. So I want to be like taking on c4, and then whenever you move your bishop and I attack it. This is going to be like a big theme. But unlike the Moran, which would be this position, where that, if white plays bishop to d3, you can take on c4. This is just a little bit different. So the inclusion of these two moves, I think, just favors white. It's not like a huge mistake or anything. I wouldn't prefer this move order. Much more common in this position is queen to a5. This is the Cambridge Springs. The idea being to attack this knight 1,000 times. So that tends to happen. And okay, as white, I like to play here because it's the sharpest and not as popular. But knight to d2, which takes control over the e4 square, is very sensible, and white should get a comfortable edge here. For example, after this, we can just protect our knight. And you get a position like this, and then in amateur games, they take here, you take back, and the queen takes this bishop. That's how most games end. But okay, we go back. So that was not played. We got here, okay. And he played bishop to d3, which is fine. Another option too is to play queen to c2, and you're just waiting for this bishop to move. So as soon as this bishop moves, as he did in the game, black can start to consider taking on c4. And when you take back, we get some time to get these pieces out. And I'm going to play here and c5. And if I get to play all these things, then I'm feeling good. His opponent did not play that. He did something kind of interesting. Not good, but interesting. Queen to b6. All right, attacking the b pawn. So he defended it. Yay. Though I think if I was playing a 1400, I would have tried this move because it's trickier. And if they take here, what's the trap? Knight a4, trapping the queen. So they might fall for that. That's also tricky. It's another common way to defend your b pawn in certain situations like this. But queen to c2, very good. I mean, I like white's position here. So far, no major mistakes. And now black goes on a little bishop hunt. And white should certainly not mind this. I mean, you want to push those pawns, fine. I don't really know where the king's going to go, the black king. So, I mean, I wouldn't be pushing all these pawns. Maybe I'd play h6, but not g5.
Every time I play g5 in this position, my black king gets thrown off the board.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're not really safe on either. And at some point in the distant future, I mean, I want to get my king safe, but I can play e4 and really open the center and try to attack you if you don't ever get castled. But he went on a little bishop hunt. And so far, I think white has played very well. And I like his move in the game. He castled. And I think castling queenside is the right idea, because then when the h-file opens up as it did in the game, that's good for your rook on h1. But also interesting in these types of positions, and this happens whenever they push their h and g pawn, and then they put their knight on the side so they can take your bishop. It can happen with either color. An interesting idea is often bishop to e5. One idea being okay, I'm attacking your rook. If you take my bishop, you bring my knight to a great square. This guy, your only job out there was to take my bishop, so you're going to have to take some time going back. And I think in a position like this, we're looking at some tactics here. So I'm starting to think about, can I play bishop to g6, this sort of thing, and black can get into a lot of trouble really fast. So that is also an interesting idea to keep in mind in these types of positions. But in the game, he castled, which, is fine. Opening the, you lost the two bishops, but you opened up the h-file, and he's pushed a lot of his pawns. And all right, it's pretty hard for him to develop his pieces comfortably. Whenever this knight moves, then we can hop in here. So it's hard for black to do anything. So he decided to play here, which is a big mistake. Does anyone see why? Yeah, there's a pin here on the h-file. And this wasn't seen by the player, so that g-pawn's going to be hanging for several moves now, which we see a lot in these games. I mean, it's just something that has been overlooked. But yeah, whenever there's these rooks here, now the bishop moved away. I mean, we can take on g5. So more sensible for black would have been a move like g4, because the knight moves away, and if for some reason you want to put your bishop on b4, then you can do it. But so this was overlooked. And king b1, that's fine. But this is sort of what happens in the next couple of moves here is why I wanted to talk about this, because I think this is truly instructive at this point. What both players end up doing is whenever there's the potential for a trade, they just trade. So, I mean, here he just took the knight, which is going to make John Boyer leave the room. He's so angry. Like, why would you take that? And there's really no reason for it. I mean, bishops are better than knights, and I think you play a lot of Bughouse, and then it's opposite. Knights are better, but yeah. But this is chess for some reason.
I lose.
Oh. Okay, but I think too why people end up doing this, because I think this is sort of a normal human behavior, especially when you're starting learning chess and whatever, and even people that have played for a long time end up doing this. Whenever they can trade, they trade. And I think it's just because you get clarity. You know what your opponent's going to do. When there's so much stuff, I might get confused. You just want to simplify and but you do want to just think sort of positionally about what's going to happen here. You trade the bishop for the knight. I don't know why that's a good trade for black. And we'll see a lot of that. So from both sides in this game. A5, here comes the attack. All I need is my pawn and my queen to attack you. Okay, this attack doesn't have much of a chance, especially the king isn't situated and black doesn't have enough pieces to go launch an attack. And here, knight to e5, which I think is a great mistake. Well, even if we don't see that we can just win a pawn here, because this is still the best move. I think again, so white just wants to trade, which is wrong. And you want to think about, it's wrong for several reasons. So you kind of want to think about how it affects the position when you make this trade. So first of all, this knight is just better than this knight. So for that reason, you don't want to trade. But also, white is the one that's clearly better in this position. So if you've assessed that white is better in this position, you don't want to simplify. You want to keep all the pieces on the board, because simplifying will only help your opponent defend. So after this move, he took, so they got some clarity. But it's not so obvious that this has actually helped white in any meaningful way. I don't know why this position would be better than keeping the knight on f3. All right, here comes the attack. And he played a3, which is no big mistake, but I probably would have let him play a3 and then I'd play b3. I think that's the best way of just keeping the queen side closed. But this is no mistake. And so here again, black just wants to trade. And in the game, they just traded queens. But still, I think white is better, so I would just try to keep the queens on the board. And what's funny is Mike Kummer gave somebody a lesson here, a private lesson. And he's like, yeah, always trade, always trade. And then I taught the same person. I said, yeah, never trade, never trade. And now Danny is sort of the same philosophy, but he's not here, so he doesn't have a chance to defend himself. It would be unfair to make fun of him too much, a little bit. And yeah, so when you're better, you just don't want to trade. But he did in this game. And again, I guess they just can't help it. He trades again. And so you want to be thinking too about what is the consequences of taking. First of all, he's not really threatening to do this. So if black wants to play that move, that's fine. Because then, okay, I'm on your b pawn, and actually it gives a chance. So one of two things is going to happen. We can take either way. And so this is sort of an important question. I think, for certain players in the audience, it's sort of an obvious choice which way to take back. But you want to think about the consequences of what's going to happen. So a lot of the times when you play chess and pawns are traded, files are opened up. So in the game, he took this way, which is incorrect. Now the C file is open, so that's sort of the positional consequence of this move. And if white wants, he can be the first one to make it to the C file. So this could have happened. Conversely, if you take this way, well, now the diagonal that the bishop was on is open, so you develop this guy somewhere. Don't go too far, but somewhere in the red zone. And the C file is not open, so okay. But in the game, he took this way. And e4 to trade some more stuff. But here in this position, I think taking on d5 is the right idea. And again, if we just think about the positional consequences of taking on d5, we see he gets an isolated pawn. That's something that we might be able to target. I already got a rook looking at the pawn. I just got to get the bishop out of the way. So I think this was the right decision to take. F4 should be fine. The king going up. The rooks are connected. And black still has problems, such as it's hard to move this guy. That's still an issue. So white is still just clearly much better. And I like this move. Coming up, I guess it's not here. So here, black actually makes a big positional mistake. What did black play? Yeah?
G4.
G4? That would have been better.
I'm trying to find bad positional moves.
Yeah, what would be the worst move you could possibly play?
Bishop take F5.
F6 was played. And okay, now after this is very favorable for white because now we have a protected passed pawn. So I think what he was worried about is F6, like white playing it himself. But after a move like rook to A4, if he plays this, I want to play the move that will frighten the class. I want to play here. All right, I'm not afraid. It looks like maybe, okay, you protect this and you play here and here, only that doesn't work because I got my rook here, so I can take this thing. So something like this would have been okay for black, but this certainly is just a big mistake, and white's much better again, so very good. And here I do like white's move. Here he improved his pieces. So the bishop remaneuvers to F3. This was a very good decision. And so even if black is thinking I can sack this pawn, get some activity, that'll all be squashed when bishop F3 lands on the board. Rook A4, yes, excellent. Okay, and white is on top again. And in the game we got this blunder. I suppose because my d pawn is now attacked twice that I would protect it. But for time's sake here, we're running short on time. We'll just look at what happened in the game. And okay, white played sort of the obvious move. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to speed through this. And okay. And now what happened also is funny. G4 is funny here because it's almost subjoined, you know, almost. It's hard for black to move anything, but he can move his b pawn. But in the game, rook b5, okay, we're gonna go win your pawns. And so he won this. And now black made another mistake. He went here to make sure he trade all the rooks, which was unfortunate. And then all the rooks came off, and black resigned. So the one takeaway from this game, I think, is when you're making trades, you do want to consider what the consequences are, and you want to think about how it changes the position, what pieces are being traded, how are you changing the pawn structure. All these sorts of things make a big difference. And when you have the better position, you really want to keep the pieces on the board because your pieces are better than their pieces. And when your pieces are better than their pieces, you shouldn't trade them.